So first things first, Daniel, how are you?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm not too bad either. Not too bad either. Listen to a really awesome album today, which is why we're here. So before we delve into the album, I think we have to go back to when the seed of this band was planted. And
hmm
if we go back, I think it's around 2005-ish with Norther. If you think back about that time, what was your, how do you remember that time?
I think it was 2011, 12, actually.
Okay.
Well, anyway, it doesn't really matter, but it's a long time ago. Um, what do I remember from that time? Quite a lot, but then probably quite a lot I've been forgotten. So, so yeah, it was pretty much the final stages of Norther, and me, Jukka, and Heikki, we were discussing already back then that we want to definitely do something together in the future, and took a little while, but luckily the day is here now.
Why did you know that back then? How did you kind of realize, well, this works with these people, making music with these people works?
Well, obviously I knew that already back in my time in Norther that
Sure.
these three guys, I mean these two, Jukka and Heikki, they're awesome musicians, and we just kind of synced and we were on the same page about everything. And of course I knew Tommy for a while, also a long while, and we had a talks with him like during the years, also several conversations that when we're doing something we want to try to that you could do the vocals, and would he be interested, and he was always at any time, and when you have the songs just call me and we'll try something, and then we did, and it just was just a match.
So what made 2023 the perfect time for everybody to come together?
uh Several reasons, but we were actually ready a bit earlier, but then the COVID came, and
Sure.
yeah, so everything was kind of on hold. But now it just seemed even more appropriate because, yeah, I think there's a lot. The other guys has their bands are taking breaks,
Mm,
and that gives a little bit more room to us.
sure.
Yeah.
For you personally then, because you say it started already a little bit earlier, and obviously you've come from Children of Bottom and then Bottom After Midnight, which was kind of an unfortunate end to that band, of course. What was
hmm
your mindset as you started to think about Crownshift and think about what a new band would look like?
Yeah, it was, and that was one of the reasons everything was hold for a while
Hmm.
as well, the COVID. But actually, the idea of Crownshift started earlier than Bottom After
Okay,
Midnight, so it didn't kind of affect that idea, but
okay.
it kind of affect my mood to work on things, which, yeah, it was a lot more difficult than I realized, actually.
Yeah, and I
But
think you said about this album that you've never worked as hard on this album as any other album. So why is that? Why was this such a big project?
well, it has many reasons. It has a lot of tracks. There's a lot of layers, which I don't think I ever involved in this kind of album that has that many tracks. And also, I produced the album. I recorded it myself, so that was a very different kind of challenge, and a lot of learning, and also a lot of issues because it's a constant learning and battle, basically. And yeah, you wanna keep the bar high as well. So there's few challenges to mention.
Can you share one thing that you had to overcome or something that you've learned in the process of recording everything, producing the album, but then also having to be the guitarist of the band and do you wearing all these different hats and you have to fulfill all these different functions. What is one thing that you've learned throughout that process?
That I need to decide what I want to be. I'm gonna be either a guitar player or producer, but I can't be both. So,
Okay.
so I think, well, not like full time at least, but it's a lot of work, and mastering those both areas is it's not that easy because there are producers out there who's been doing this like as long as you've been playing guitar, so
Sure.
you're never gonna catch them in that sense. So it's a kind of different instrument, but yeah, you can do it. I like it in a little bits, but not maybe this kind of massive project when you have to do everything. So
Do
it
you,
takes a lot of time, too much time. Yeah.
and do you have to be kind of the, how should I put this? Because kind of the director of the band then, because you are looking for certain sounds, and do you have to kind of how I don't want to say be the boss, but kind of do you have to tell people, well, do that again, or you know what I mean? Do you kind of have to direct people a lot, and is that difficult when you're also just a member of the band?
Yeah, but yeah, I kind of do, but it's part of the producing, I think,
Okay,
and most of the time the guys want feedback how they did, but it's also a new situation for me because I'm not used to be like a producer. Producer, they have very, specific ear for specific things.
mm,
They hear right away if something is off, and I've had to a little bit learn that. I was like, that maybe was good, but I'm not sure. So, and then the next day, I was like, did it work? So I wasn't as instant giving my reaction or feedback. So yeah,
but
it was a kind of tricky, but you learn through the process.
and also I imagine because you know the other guys so well that it's easy to be honest about certain things that need to be done.
Of course, we never had a issue with that, and they also want the maximum out of themselves, and they want somebody who tells when it's good enough or isn't good enough. So
What was the starting point then in terms of writing? Because you mentioned the band, kind of the idea of the band already started before COVID. Had you already written down some lyrics, some riffs? When did that whole process start?
well, I think it's always, in my case, I write a lot of music during the years, and
Okay.
sometimes and pretty much always it's a mixture of something I wrote before and something I create in the moment. So it's really tough to say which year the writing started because there's some riffs that were wrote probably, I don't know even how many years ago, and then there's
Sure.
some stuff that was super recent. So yeah, I think the lyrics they all came like before. I mean, after the music, we kind of had sessions with Tommy, just me and him, and we kind of make all the lyrics on the spot as while we're
Okay.
recording. So that kind of worked very well for us because it's yeah, it's a very intuitive way to do vocals in my opinion.
I want to ask about the lyrics a little bit later still, but first focusing on the music then, because you said these were ideas that happened over a a whole span of time. What were you looking for in all those ideas that you had? What was kind of the combining factor?
I don't know. There's difficult question.
Is
Just
it a gut feeling?
yeah, totally. It's just music I heard in my head. Music I want to write. It's not really any voodoo behind it. That or we weren't like looking for certain style or genre to tap in. So it's just whatever sounds good, no matter you know if it reminds me of something or if it's totally from different genre or it doesn't matter as long as it sounds good and the quality meets our standards.
Hmm. There's one thing that just popped into my head, and I don't know if it's a good question, but with Children of Bottom, you played a lot of rhythm guitar, and obviously you've played lead guitar throughout your life. But what was it like? Because I really enjoyed the, for instance, the solos on the album. What was your approach to your guitar work on the album?
Same as you always.
Okay.
I don't know. I never really thought about it. What's my approach? I just, you mean solos or rhythms or whatever?
Well, the solos in particular, and I thought, especially on this album, I really like the guitar solos and certain tones that you use. So, is it again just a gut feeling and just whatever comes out comes out?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a total gut feeling. And
Okay.
well, some of the solos, I tend to think that they are stories inside the stories.
Mm,
So they are their own little story. And yeah, there's no really a certain formula I use. I just go how I felt on that particular day. And well, but it takes sometimes it takes a lot of time to compose those solos.
mm.
I don't want to be I don't want them to be like some random shredding or anything. They need to be also kind of aligned with the songs.
Sure, but I mean, that's as you kind of talk about it, that's a very intuitive thing, right? A lot of those things you don't know until you kind of hear it and it fits, right?
Yeah, yeah, and of course it's a lot of try.
Mm,
Doesn't work right away
sure.
necessarily. Uh, it takes a time, and yeah, there are kind of songs inside the songs, or so
But
you need to
is that
compose.
because, well, for instance, if we take the final song of the album, To the Other Side, there's a lot of, I mean, it's a 10-minute, 11-minute song, so there's a lot going on in that song. Does that give you a lot of freedom in the songwriting?
Yeah, of course. That song particularly, it was pretty quite an adventure, but it's also like I think it's more challenge to write 10-minute song than a 2 5-minute songs because you
Okay,
have to kind of keep that 10 minute interesting and because if you have a 2 5-minute songs you can use same themes more often, I guess. Well, depends on the style, but for me I thought that I felt that the 10-minute song it's some more work than
mm.
keep it interesting than like a 4 minute or 5 minute song.
But I do think if you, for instance, put in a tempo change or something like that, it's more appropriate in a sense because there's so much you can do with so many directions that you go in. I mean, nearing the end, there's that musical breakdown and stuff. So you have a lot of freedom to fill in or to paint the picture. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You actually have, but then you know there's still something you want to do that you kind of think that this is going this direction, and maybe you don't want to that song to go another direction. Then you have to kind
Sure.
of yeah, it's a lot of self battle. Which way you want to lead that song?
But were you then, or let me ask it differently. How did the songs come together? Did you come up with an initial idea and then the rest of the band kind of fleshed them out, or what was kind of the general songwriting process?
Well, that's how it started. I started to have these songs a lot in my sessions, and then I already like had made a demos with programmed drums and guitars and sometimes bass, keyboards, not vocals, but yeah. Then I just send them to the other guys, and basically when I asked them how much time do you need to practice, and they were like, okay, this much, and then come to my place and we record it. So then the guys added a lot of cool twists to the song when the arrangement part which was basically most of the time while we were recording. So we kind of did a lot of arrangement while we were recording. Yeah.
What makes Tommy's vocals so so you it's not the right word, but so perfect for this band? What the type of songs that musically you write, and then his vocals, because he is very versatile. You can hear it on the record. But what makes his voice so perfect for this band?
He just has a certain tone, which I like. It's
Mm,
and like you said, he's very versatile. He can do like any trick in the book. So I don't have to think about that
mm,
when I'm, if I'm hearing something in my head that can a vocalist do that? Because I'm pretty sure he can.
mm,
So that's a huge asset. And I've
sure.
never really been in a situation that we have a vocalist that can actually who has such a wide range of different tones and whatnot.
Mm,
So that's really a positive new situation
sure.
to be in the
And
band.
and let's get into the lyrics. And you mentioned earlier then that a lot of the vocals and the lyrics were written again in the studio as you kind of went along. And so now with a bit of separation, now that I assume these songs have been written for a while, how do you look back at some of the lyrics and some of the themes that kind of rise to the top?
Mm, I don't think about them too much.
Okay.
Um, I mean, lyrics isn't really. It's not like my ambition to
Mm,
do when the music is. So Tommy, anyways, writes most of the lyrics,
okay.
and I'm
Okay.
just helping here and there. But yeah, it's they work. I like them how they are, and but it's really hard to reflect, afterwards that what is a good lyrics or what are the good lyrics or what are not. So I don't know.
No, but
I'll
maybe
let
it's interesting that you can hear, well, I was feeling this, or maybe we were thinking about this, or Tommy was going through this, so that's why the lyrics are what they are.
usually when we have to adjust some lyrics, it's because it's more of a rhythmic thing,
Mm,
not like a storyline. We're not really arguing about the storyline or anything,
mm,
but it's more like sometimes they just don't fit in the sentence or they don't sound right, or it's more like that kind of tweaking with the lyrics. And
sure.
that's the hardest part because it's yeah, you can write some decent lyrics pretty fast, but they have to match to the song.
Even the
Yeah,
pronunciation and things.
yeah. There's so many different aspects you need to consider.
Because you mentioned about producers, like they've been doing that their whole life. Now you've been a guitarist your entire life, but is that something you keep in the back of your mind, that you have to keep kind of evolving or keeping learning new things, even being as good as on the guitar as you are?
Yeah, of course. Obviously that's the probably the aim of any musician to evolve and so on. I'm not sure if sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes baby steps and sometimes huge leaps. But yeah, it's good to try something new and break your old patterns.
Sure.
And then maybe you start to see a totally new way your instrument, or you get a new perspective of your instrument and start like different things and maybe add them, start trying another new things. It can lead to anywhere.
So next time maybe acoustic or something.
There is actually acoustic guitar on the
Is it
Mirage
on
as well.
Mirage as well? Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it's there. But so yeah, we tried that as well.
So I
Acoustic
have
is
two.
really difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, especially the way metal is played, obviously. And I have a guitar there. And I have very basic knowledge, but even just playing fast on an acoustic guitar, your fingers just start.
Right. So
I have two.
different animal.
Yeah, definitely. I have two kind of last questions then. Because you mentioned kind of continually growing. Um, is this band, I believe this band is now for all members is kind of the main focus, right?
Yeah, it is.
So then, and I believe you're playing festivals this summer. What do you hope this first debut record does for the band?
Um, that's a very, very big question. I hope a lot of things, you know.
Okay,
I hope it will give us some kind of place in the music industry, and we get to do this as much as we want to. So that's probably to put it simple.
sure.
But yeah, of course, there's like a little things here and there, and you can analyze this for hours. But that's the main focus that we get to do this as much as we can. And one of the reasons why we formed the Crownshift is that we wanted to be more active, and we wanted to have more control how active we are
Mm.
ourselves. Because yeah,
May I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
thank you, my pleasure.